Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate with Mary. Today I am super excited. Here we have Jerry Carlos from Eviction Professionals. Let me tell you a little bit about Jerry. Jerry graduated from our local university, UC Riverside. After graduation, he served in the U.S. Army as an infantry sergeant. Thank you so much for your service, Jerry.
I know you did too. Not an infantry sergeant.
Not infantry, but he later became a head coach at UCR and several local high schools and coached AYSO. Wow. Jerry was a Riverside County Sheriff's Patrol deputy and later became the first police chief for the Riverside Community College District, RCC. Yes. He was also a local realtor for a decade as well as a mortgage banker. He is the vice chairman of the Lake Elsinore Public Safety Advisory Commission. He started his eviction company in 1989. So, welcome, Jerry Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I'm really happy to have you here. You know, we're going to be talking about evictions and, I'm talking about that. How did you get in the business, Jerry?
Well, when I got out of patrol with the Sheriff's Department, I went over to the Marshal's office. And one of the functions that the Marshal's office had at the time was to remove people from rentals, and we carried out court orders. So court would say, remove these people, and that's what we went over and did. A little while afterwards, I ended up with a number of my own rentals. I had about 15 homes here in the Riverside area. And as I always tell landlords and as I tell people in the property management business, if you do this long enough, you're going to have people you need to get rid of. So I had that issue and I went to a local eviction company at the time, and I just wasn't pleased with the job they did for me. They did not do a very good job. And 6 months later I had the same problem again, and they didn't do any better than either. So I just kind of decided maybe I could get this done. So
great.
That was the beginning.
Wow. You learned from your own experiences, huh?
You learn of what you want to do right and what you don't want to do.
Exactly. So, well, let's get into the topic. So what is an eviction or an unlawful detainer? That's another word for that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
We can start this eviction process, unlawful detainer process, and those two things are basically the same item, unlawful detainer, eviction. We have to give somebody notice. So most of us have heard of that 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. We've got to give notice before we can actually start the legal action with the court. So for this tenant landlord system, I have to give that tenant notice that this is what you're doing wrong, and if it's not corrected, then we're going to go to court.
And we have to do that in writing.
In writing and served the way that our California Civil Code says it needs to be served as well.
That's why it's important to know and hire the right professional to do your eviction or unlawful detainer. So unlawful detainer is the legal term that is used at the court. Unlawful detainer or UD for short, right?
That's correct.
We use the UD term. Jerry, can you please go over the process? We know that first the tenant has to be given a notice, right? If it's to pay rent or to perform, to comply with, they're breaching the contract. So we know that the notice is to be done first. And then after that, can you please go over the process of the unlawful detainer or the eviction?
Okay, so once again, as you said, the notice is step one. After that notice expires, the landlord, the owner, is going to make a decision. I want to proceed with step two. So step two is what we technically call, again, the unlawful detainer. This is a legal civil lawsuit. It has state of California court judicial forms that are required. So we fill all those forms out. The attorney signs that complaint, and then we take it over to the court and pay the court a fee, and for most of the courts in Southern California, the fee is about a little under $300, and we file it. And it gets stamped by the court, County of Riverside, County of San Bernardino, County of Orange County, whatever. And then we bring it back to our office, and we make a bunch of copies of it. We give those copies to registered process servers. Then the registered process server will go out to that property, and sooner or later, we'll get the people served. Sooner is a tenant that answers the door right away. Later is a tenant that thinks they're going to hide and not answer the door at all, but we're still going to get them served anyway because there's an alternative method for doing that. So once we get the tenant served, though, the action is going to be with the tenant. There's nothing more for our office to do at that time. We've now served the tenant, and the tenant is going to make a decision. I'm going to fight it, or I'm just going to see how much longer I can stay here and not do anything.
How long does the tenant have to respond to that legal lawsuit?
What we call this particular legal action, it's called an summons and complaint. 5 days after the service of the summons, you have to have something responded in court.
Okay,
that's
so
what that summons
they
says.
have 5 days. Okay, then after those 5 days, if they do not respond, then what happens?
Then our office does a whole lot more paperwork, and we do what's basically called a default package. Default means the defendant has done nothing, so now we're proceeding to get that paperwork from the court that we take over to the sheriff and then have the sheriff remove the people.
So basically, the landlord won the case, basically, and there is a document provided to the landlord that they won the case, and with that document, you go to the sheriff department, and the sheriff will then remove that tenant.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, wow, great. So, but I know that many times also we have tenants that respond, and they answer to that legal document or this lawsuit, and basically then at that time they have to set up a time in court, right? A date in court, right?
Okay. So out of every 100 cases we do, maybe 25 to 30 of those cases, the tenant will file an answer. This is what we refer to as contesting, filing something in court that says, these are my reasons that I haven't paid. Oftentimes, those tenants will actually they agree with everything that's in our complaint. They've just had personal issues and haven't been able to pay and are asking the court to give them more time. Court means a judge. Judge really won't listen to that. The judge is going to simply look at has everything been done correctly by the people doing this unlawful detainer? Have all the rules been followed? And if they have, we expect to get judgment. Our office, I don't know if we've lost a case in Riverside Court this century because we make sure we do everything correctly. And once in a while, we'll actually see that our 3-day notice, and that's the biggest reason for a case getting lost, we'll see that the 3-day notice is wrong.
Yes.
We have a landlord that will suddenly tell us, oh, the tenant put in there that they made this extra $500 payment. I forgot about it. And I have to tell our client, well, in that case, we're going to dismiss the case. Because if you did go to trial, the judge would be obligated to toss your case out anyway.
Correct.
And you'd end up in a bigger hole because the judge might order you to pay fees for the tenant.
Correct.
So we need to dismiss the case and start all over.
Yes.
That's one of the things landlords don't enjoy hearing.
No, so that's why it's so important to have the right professional doing working for you and, doing this unlawful detainer or eviction process for you, because one little mistake, after you go through the whole process, you go in front of the judge, guess what? The case is dismissed and you have to start all over again. And that tenant hasn't been paying rent and they're not going to pay rent, so they have more time. So talking about that, how long does it normally take, the eviction process here in, let's say, Riverside County?
Just to give an answer, because you need an answer
Yes.
here, I'm going to say 3 to 6 weeks. And that would be with the sheriff removing someone. The sheriff in Riverside County is the most prompt sheriff for removing tenants in Southern California.
Yes.
San Bernardino is just about twice as long. And Orange County right now, I'm not exaggerating, it's taking a couple months
Wow.
after we have finished our whole court process and give it to the sheriff in Orange County.
Yes.
Taking close to 2 months to remove somebody.
So basically, after, the court already gave that documentation that the landlord can have possession of their house, this document needs to be sent to the sheriff. So here in Riverside, we have great sheriff department that they are working promptly on that. But yes, I had a case in San Bernardino and took over a month and a half after they got the documents to remove the tenants. So that's after the court process and everything. So yes, depending, I guess, on the county. And that's crazy. Orange County is taking a couple of months, you say?
The sheriff.
The
not
sheriff.
court.
Yeah, the sheriff.
Yeah.
So, wow. So if you have a tenant that is not paying, don't wait because it can take a long time.
Don't wait. And then right now, we have the holiday season coming. And we've had times where we've had a county sheriff say, well, I don't know if I want to do lockouts for Thanksgiving week or for Christmas week. And in addition to that, when we mention how much time that tenant has to file a response,
Yes.
all those holidays give them extra time that gets added on to what their
Added
time
on
would
to
be.
that.
So next week, we have Veterans Day. Week after,
Yes.
1 or 2 weeks after that, we have a couple of days for Thanksgiving, and we'll have the Christmas time, then we'll have the New
Yes.
Year's time, and then we'll have people that are on vacation that are the court and sheriff employees that'll even slow it down more.
Yeah, so it will slow down the
Yeah.
process.
This is what I
even
refer
more.
to as the most annoying time to do an unlawful detainer. But if you need to do it, you need to do it.
And do it, sooner rather than later. So it's so important to know that. So one more question, Jerry. Do we have rent control here in Riverside?
Basically, no.
Okay.
Simple, short answer. And we had that initiative on the ballot, that was this week. And what that ballot tried to do was to allow local cities and counties the ability to set their own rent rules. How you could remove somebody, how rent increases could be done, just a number of things like that.
I know that they have rent control. So you're talking about Prop 10, right? Proposition 10 that was
Correct.
part of our ballots this past election, November 6th. I believe that proposition did not pass,
Yeah,
right?
excuse the smile on my face. That would have just made everything so much harder. Right now in California, what we have something passed by Sacramento that does not allow the cities and counties to all set up their own systems. Because otherwise, we have 58 counties, and I don't know exactly how many cities, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's over 1,000 cities. You don't want 1,000 different sets of rules.
No, correct.
So- Very fortunately, that did not pass.
Great, yes, because that also could have affected, property values, a lot of investors, a lot.
Exactly.
So big impact, would have had a big impact in real estate. So, well, thank you so much, Jerry, for coming to my show, Real Estate with Mary, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, but also we will have Jerry's information. But if you could tell us, your website, contact information, we'll also put it on, down below the video, so you can, contact Jerry if you have any questions about evictions. If you are a tenant or if you are a landlord, you can always contact Jerry, very knowledgeable, who's been doing this for many, many years. So can you please give us our contact information?
Yeah, it's evictionprofessionals.com. 2 words that people have a hard time spelling. Eviction Professionals, one long word, it ends in S. And if you go look me up in the internet, you'll see I have a phone number for Pasadena, Riverside, Lake Elsinore, and San Diego. that will be me. And really, don't hesitate to ask a question. It's better to do that
Yes.
at the beginning rather than do a 60-day notice and 2 months later I tell you, oh, you didn't do this right. You're going to start crying. So
Yes.
really, don't hesitate to call.
Great. Well, thank you again. Well, thanks everyone for watching my show, Real Estate with Mary. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Real Estate with Mary, and I'll see you on my next video.